There are many kinds of death. Some are better than others.
Usually we kind of have a funny one, but like it's dark.
That guy was the least funny.
He's
person.
no funny.
Well, there's no funny lines in the trailer. And that's the only
thing you could get. Yeah. Anywho, welcome to Screams and Streams, the podcast that looks at the best and worst horror movies as rated on Rotten Tomatoes from 1970 onwards. I'm your host, Chad, and with me are my co-hosts,
Sam
and
Mike.
Be sure to check us out on Instagram. Our handle is @ScreamStreamPod. Also, check out our website, screamstreams.com, for more information about the film we are looking at. Just a warning, especially for this film, because it's just been released. If you don't like spoilers, we recommend that you stop listening now, check out the film, and then rejoin us for our discussion. Today, we are looking at the third film in the 28 Later franchise. It is Danny Boyle's just released film, 28 Years Later. It scored 89% on Rotten Tomatoes. Let's get into it. Sam, can you give us our summary, please?
Absolutely. It's been almost 3 decades since the rage virus escaped a biological weapons laboratory, and now, still in a ruthlessly enforced quarantine, some have found ways to exist amidst the infected. One such group of survivors lives on a small island connected to the mainland by a single, heavily defended, arguably maybe not super heavily defended, causeway. When one of the group leaves the island on a mission into the dark heart of the mainland, he discovers secrets, wonders, and horrors that have mutated not only the infected, but other survivors as well. No?
Really?
No, that last bit, no one else's is mutated.
I think he's just a weird douche.
Yeah, like mentally he's off, but he's surviving.
Like, I mean, he's cleaning up the dead, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not physically changed.
Well, he does.
Well,
he
bathes
turns
in
himself
iodine.
orange, which I was like, oh, what's going on
he
here?
He does look rather Trump-like.
Yeah.
But it's
Cheeto-y.
Anyways, thanks for that, Sam.
Yeah.
We're moving on to our sinister sip. Mike, what are we drinking today?
We are drinking the table cocktail we're drinking the virus cocktail from Table Magazine.
Okay.
Virus cocktail does sound better than the table cocktail, in all fairness.
Cheers.
Cheers. I
That's
like
nice.
it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good summer drink.
What's in it?
2 ounces of London dry gin, 3/4 an ounce of lemon juice, an ounce of cranberry syrup, and club soda.
Nice.
Yeah, I like it.
Yep.
It's not very ginny. I don't like Band-Aid smell / taste that gin can sometimes have, and I don't taste it at all.
We finally had a good gin drink.
Band-Aid smash?
I find that gin smells like Band-Aids.
Oh my God.
Like
what
fabric.
gin are you drinking?
No, every time I've smelled
Or what
it.
Band-Aids are you using?
They just guessing.
Good Lord, that's disgusting. Yeah,
They do. Next time smell it, it will be like, okay.
All
this
right, I'll give it a
smells
whiff.
like a box of Band-Aids.
I have smelt gin before. I don't think I've ever thought of Band-Aids. But...
Every single time I'm like, yuck. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, this is good.
On that note, Sam, why don't you give us your first impression?
Obviously, this was my first time seeing it in theaters. Saw it a couple days ago. It was very highly anticipated for me. So I wanted to go in completely blind. I saw the trailer for it, only the one trailer. I saw the Boots trailer.
Oh, okay.
I didn't see anything else. I didn't look up anything. I didn't look up any reviews, anything like that. I didn't even want to know what it scored on Rotten Tomatoes before I went into it. So I was scared to even Google anything like that. I overall liked it. I didn't know what to expect going into it. Was it going to be more like the first movie or the second movie? Was it going to be completely different? I do think I liked the first half better than the second half when I was watching. I was overall entertained while watching it, but it wasn't entirely what I thought it would be. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right, Mike?
So, yeah, I as well, first time. I did see it twice, so gave Danny Boyle more money. And just like you, Sam, I only saw the Boots trailer as well. And I did see one headline prior to the film that will come up in a later category, but that was all. And when I saw what they were talking about, I was, okay. Highly anticipated. Love the first one. I'm kind of torn. After the first watch, I really, really liked it. I was like, that was great. It was everything I wanted it to be. But the more I think about it, I feel it. Yeah, there's an imbalance in the film. There's two halves. And I feel that, the first half was too long. I liked it, but I feel like they could have done a shorter first adventure out and done more in the second half with the mother, and it would have been better. But I mean, I did enjoy it. It was great. I made a lot of comments. The jump scares got me. And when it ended, I was very, like, I'm still looking forward to the next one in January next year. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about this film. In fact, you guys were the reason I even knew it was coming out. Like, I didn't do any research on it. I didn't know anything about it. I was like, oh, they're doing another one? Oh, all right. I went in not caring at all. Like, I was like, yeah, I liked the first one. Second one, I really liked the first one. Second one I liked, but not as much. So I was like, is this going to be more like that second one, like you thought, Sam? I thought they were going to make it an action film again, which they definitely sprinkled it with that kind of tone. But I thought it harkened back more to the first one a little more.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so I did enjoy the film, and I didn't think the first part was too long or the second part. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and maybe it's because I just saw it the first time and I was like engaged and into it. But maybe if I went and saw it a couple more times, usually that happens. Yeah. I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. And then I'll watch it again. And by the third time, I start to pick at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe I wouldn't say the first part was too long, because it's not like I was looking at my watch at any time in the movie.
Right.
I just feel that maybe the second part needed to be longer. Like the first part, I don't think there's much you chop out of that. I did like it. I just feel they could have done more to develop the relationship with the mother, or done more with that side of it.
Yeah. Well, she was going kind of crazy. I'm not sure how you, like, I mean, in and out of like consciousness where she knew who her son was and then where she didn't, right? So how much longer do you want to see of that?
True. Yeah. I was just thinking, like, the first one did really well with all the relationships,
right? Like
Frank and his daughter. And
yeah.
So I feel like there could have been more developed, but they did I still think they did a lot to bring us in emotionally, though.
And I think too, like, I liked the emotional connection between the father and the son, and how that was just broken. Like you just, that minute, like as soon as the kid gets slapped, it was already like, you're hooking up with Molly. Like I saw that, and then or Holly, Molly, one of them, and then
one of them.
Sorry, I don't mean it like that. I just meant I can't remember off
one
the top
of them
my
ladies
head.
of the night,
Rosie.
Oh, so neither. So one of them. And then he was kind of like, okay, you're kind of dead to me. And then as soon as that slap happened, he's like, no.
That was one of the things that I kind of, and I don't want to step on anybody's categories, but that was one of the things that bothered me, is that I didn't know what the dad was doing while the son was out with the mom. Right. I would have thought he would have been, where is it? Like, we didn't go back to him until the very end, where he was screaming, or
trying to get out of the
trying to go find him.
Yeah.
But
because I know they said like,
no rescues, no exceptions.
But then you'd think he, with that connection with his son, at least, it would be like, oh my God, I'm going to set fire to something and sneak out.
Like, Like they just kind of put him on the shelf. I'm sure we're going to see him in the second one.
Yes.
And maybe they'll readdress that, or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just say, well, he's back at the rules are you don't go out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're going to bring him out, and he's going to find them with all the Jimmy Sevilles there. So
the tracksuit
ninjas.
I said parkour.
Yeah. But anyways, that was my thing. That's the only thing I really had was I was like, what's going on with the dad? Like, he just got mad, he left, and then it was like
all just spike.
But it also wasn't a very long time though. Like, if you think about, it was only a couple nights they were gone.
Yeah, what is the timeline on their
the
travel?
Second half, because they had one night in the church, and then they made it to they spent one night.
They spent one night with Dr. Kelson.
Yeah. It was only 2
nights. Yeah.
I guess.
Yep. That could have reacted faster. I would agree.
It's a quick journey.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're going to delve into our categories, our tropes hall of shame. We've got a couple here. Mike, why don't you kick us off with a couple of yours?
Right. My first one is that this is foretold, right? The priest in the church. Like,
oh, yeah.
This is all foretold as it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I had that one too.
And then just same thing with the priest giving a token of remembrance, right? Giving the necklace and like, take this and always keep it with you to remember me by.
Yeah. I'm going to go next. The priest thing I had as well. The priest bothered me because he was such a shitty dad.
Yes.
Like obviously he's going through some mental stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't just let that happen. But the fact that he wouldn't protect his kids, and it confused me because he saw this as a cleansing, as like the second coming, and that God was coming again, so everybody should be taken.
Yeah.
But then he sent his son off and said, run and always wear this. Like,
Right.
so why wouldn't he just be like, they're coming to save us, son. Like, let's all be cleansed
Saved.
in the blood of
Yeah.
the rage virus or whatever they're going to do.
Yeah.
So I had a question about that. I didn't like that very much. Another one I had was Journey to Be a Man.
Mhm.
Yep.
And they do make mention that it's young, usually 14 or 15.
Oh
but
my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
that seemed kind of sandwiched in there.
Yeah.
I feel like all the rules were
Yeah,
oh, they're supposed to be 14 or 15, but
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's
But
a
we're
lot
going to
of-
let this go this time.
Yeah.
So that was one I had. And I had another one, which was, at the end, in every zombie film, there's always a group that really enjoys killing the zombies.
Yeah.
So these guys just go off the chain when they when they start killing them, and they're all laughing and using that Jimmy Savile line and stuff. It's just it's crazy.
So good.
I loved it, but I was just like, because I remember in Night of the Living Dead when the people they find them in the house, but then they're out there. The zombies are like in a pig pen or whatever,
Right?
And they're like teasing them. Like, oh, come get this!
Yeah.
and they're enjoying killing them. Anyways, those were my two. Sam, what did you have?
I had almost all the same ones as you guys did. I also had the crazy doctor, or the perceived crazy doctor.
Yeah.
Right.
I would argue is pretty crazy. And then this one, Mike, you always bring this one up, the kid looking through a peephole or a crack in the door.
Oh,
So
yeah.
the kid's always watching and seeing those
yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
it happened quite often.
Mike, do you have any others?
I had the exposition of the rules, like the no rescue, no exception. Just, that trope of we're not going to go after you no matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then just a trope, a sort of a shot we see often, which is just the pine tree shot from above while people wander through a path. Seems to be in every horror movie now.
Yeah.
Or the high angle shot of like getting like the whole group as they're wandering through.
Yeah.
So now we're going to go into our next one, which is don't go back in the house. Sam, since we stole all your other ones,
How dare you?
why don't we start with you on don't go back in the house?
Maybe don't take the 12-year-old on this mission when he's
that was mine
clearly
as well.
Yeah.
that's just starts it triggers the mom. And I don't understand the concept of like going there anyways. Like he's 12 and you're just taking him across to this really dangerous area just to kill a zombie and come back and have a party about it. Like I know it's him becoming like a man and it's like your first kill, but it was like kind of scary and wild for a 12-year-old, I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe don't do that.
Or just get him to kill the slow-lo or whatever it's called, the weird fat ones, and then go back right away.
Right away. You
Yeah.
don't go on an adventure. Like
Yeah,
the
you don't need
tide.
to go
You
any
only got 4
further.
hours.
Yeah.
And then I said to continue that, like, just don't go to the mainland at all. Like, was it necessary for them to go to the mainland?
Well, they have to forage, right? They have
Yeah.
to go get things.
But those are like adults that are like,
Yeah.
Right. Why did at 15 you can start going?
and they seem to be
Forage.
doing fine for lumber regardless
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just said, of course, don't take the baby, like that kind of like
Yeah.
further along. But
Yeah,
to
yeah.
start the whole thing, don't take a 12-year-old to the mainland.
Yeah.
It just seems stupid.
Mike?
That was mine as well. The only other thing is, and this is so many movies, like just communicate, right? Like
Yeah.
tell the kid what's wrong. Like they don't know for sure that it's cancer, but what your mom has can't be cured. And this, like, just tell them what's going on.
But even like the mom's like, oh yeah, I knew that. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of threw me for a loop too. I was like, you knew this whole time and you just didn't tell him that, I'm going to die. Like this
Yeah.
this is happening to me.
Immediately I was like, okay, brain tumor. But then I was like, maybe they're going to keep us on our toes and it's going to be some type of infection or some type of mutation of it. And then they're like, oh, you're covered with lumps all over your breasts and your lymph nodes, all
Yeah.
over your
Yeah.
neck and your armpits. I was like, oh,
Yeah,
like
she knew for sure.
She knew.
Yeah, she knew what was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, I also thought it was going to be like with 28 weeks later where the mom was a carrier but not infected.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be that as well. So I was looking to see, like, will we get to see her eyes and their different colors, but we never got that. So.
no.
It was weird because eventually I was like, okay, it's got to be cancer. But at the start, when she woke up and she smashed the glass and her hands seemed to be like curled up. I was like, is this another arthritis thing? Like, is she gonna
Early
have
Parkinson's?
is she gonna have the nasty arthritis that just debilitates her?
things?
And she
I was
can't-
going to say needful
like
things.
needful
As
things.
soon as you did the thing with her
Yeah.
hands, I was like, it's needful things.
But then she was kind of crazy, right? Like
Yeah.
when they were telling her, well, he's not going to school, he's going to the mainland, and then she flips out, and then they're like, oh, no, we're going to
kidding.
school. Just kidding, we're going to school.
And then she completely like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
switches. So
It's your bacon, Mom.
mine were the same. It was like, yeah, just don't leave. But then you don't have I know you don't have a story, but
That's the
that's the point of the category.
Yeah.
But it's like, you just don't take your 12-year-old out
Yeah.
to go murdering zombies, right?
No.
Yeah, it's super dangerous. And they know about these alphas that are out there. And he was saying, I saw a guy take like
Took 15 arrows to get it
15
down.
arrows to
Yeah.
get it down. You're going to take this kid to a place where that could possibly happen?
Yeah.
Like,
With
I don't
like
know.
10 arrows between them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they don't retrieve
They
their
don't
arrows.
retrieve them. I know.
Well, so I had that in my notes, and then I thought I was like, oh, maybe because of the blood, like they don't
I-
want the infected blood. But I was like,
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
rinse those off in the.
I think you just...
There's only so much metal that they can have to create the tips and
Yeah.
the feathers. Like, yeah, that's a lot of wasted arrows.
For just to go to the mainland to hunt and get your first kill. Like, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
It's
yeah.
crazy.
And they use a lot of them. Well, they
Yes.
use them all.
They use them all,
Uh,
yeah.
And he can't hit shit
No.
because he's scared, which is fair enough.
He's
Like,
12.
you're-
He's a
boy.
boy.
Yeah.
And he starts to shake. Like, he does kill that one, and it's pretty cool. But then when he gets chased, yeah, of course, I'm glad the dad didn't flip out and be like, "This
What's
is
wrong with
You're the
you?"
reason that we're
Yeah.
here," or
Yeah.
anything. Like, he was nice about it because, yeah, it kind of redeems the dad a little bit. But
And then
And he lies about it completely. And
yeah, well, I mean, he's drinking.
yeah.
Who doesn't lie about a story when they're drinking?
30 yards through tall grass and a wind.
and the wind.
Like, you're 15 feet away from us.
Yeah, he was like,
The guy just eating earthworms.
yeah, he's not even knowing what's happening. He's
No.
just like sitting there eating his spaghetti, and shot him in the neck. All right, we're going to move on to our one-liners. Okay, we've got, two of us had quite a bit. Sam, it looks like you were lacking in this category.
Okay. So I have to. Okay,
Wow.
this is the first time we've
Just
I
call
was
you
like,
out. Yeah.
rude. Okay, so for the one-liners, I usually watch movies with subtitles on, and so that I can, and I go back and rewatch it so I get the exact quote.
I always pause on the subtitles
Yes.
so I can write it down exactly as well. Yes.
And so in the movie theater, which is the first time we've seen a movie for the podcast in the movie theaters, for me anyways. So yes, mine's lacking a little bit.
I'm sorry. I was totally kidding. I don't care.
Well, I started writing down the like mom's rant when she first like freaks out and
Where she
is-
calls him a cunt like
yeah, like
5
a million
times.
times. And I was
Oh.
like, that's too many cunts.
Yeah.
to write. And I couldn't keep up because it was like cunt. And I was like, times one. And it was
Yeah,
Italian.
yeah.
And I was like, no, I'm going to butcher this.
She loses her mind.
Yes, she
Yeah.
is displeased.
Yeah.
So anyways, I'm going to start us off this
Yes,
category.
for sure.
Because I only have
Yeah.
one.
Go ahead.
My comment was just on the shell sign and the S.
Oh,
was,
yeah.
I
yeah.
just like that it
The
said
hell.
hell. Yeah. So
Yeah, I wrote that in there too.
I think I had that for an LOL. But
yeah, it was good.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
good,
I did
yeah.
like it.
All right. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off with a couple of yours first?
All right.
Oh, he's got so many, he doesn't know where to start.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're just peppered everywhere in my notes. No, my first one is just my first one, and I really liked it because it was just, you don't really think about it, but when Spike and Jamie are standing at the top of the ridge, and he's just like, I've never seen so much land.
Oh,
And it's like, yeah, this kid is 12 and he has never left the island. So just, I thought, and then he's like, can we ever walk far enough that we can't see the ocean?
right.
Like, that's his worldview, is just that little space. And I was
Yeah.
like, kind of neat.
And I also like too that like I put it in another category later, but when they meet the Swedish guy,
Eric.
Eric, yes. But when they meet him and he's like talking about like, oh, you don't even know what like Wi-Fi is or like
Yeah,
service
yeah.
or anything like that. But even the dad, the kid doesn't know what a Frisbee is. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it's just to put that in perspective with 28 years difference and like,
Mhm.
it's crazy.
All
Yeah.
the things that are lost.
Yeah.
And then my other one, I just like the line because I've never heard this expression before, but it's when the dad gets back from carousing in a night with Rosie and he lays in the bed and she's like, oh, you're looking pretty rough. And he says, oh, I feel like I was dragged through a hedge backwards.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. Mine mostly came from the Swedish guy. For me, he was like a great little comic relief in
Yeah.
an otherwise
Yeah.
fairly deep film.
Yeah.
My first one is actually at the party with the dad, and he was, telling the story, and he's like, Billy Big Bollocks keeps taking shots. I thought that was pretty funny. And then this one really hit because just the way it was said, the more you kill, the easier it is. Because later on in the film, we meet the doctor who doesn't kill anything. And then the dad is like, you got to kill them all. Yeah. Whereas the doctor is like putting them to sleep and then escaping, silently. So he's
terrible strategy, in my opinion.
Yeah. But I think he's got this appreciation for life no matter what it is. Yeah. And the dad is just like, these guys are going to get you. So we kill them all. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And like even the killing the Slow-Los where they kill the first one because Spike's got to get the kill. Then the dad kills the second one. And then there's the young one.
Yeah.
And the dad shows a little bit of care there because he's like, oh, it's a child. And
he's like, Dad. And then, but I think he would have killed him if the kid didn't shout out. Yeah. Right.
Maybe, yeah.
Because he said, Dad. And then he just lowered his bow and arrow and the kid took off. Anyways, those were my two. How about you, Mike? You got some others?
Another one that hit me, it was kind of interesting. It's when Spike and Isla are staying in the ruins and they're just chatting and she's like, is your dad silly?
Oh, yeah.
And just like, does he have that relationship with you? And it's like, no. It's like, well, he's trying to make you hard and, you can survive in this. And then they share that cross-eyed look. And it was like, at least they have that playful relationship.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. And to go to the lighter side, it is with Eric, and he's just rescued them from the shell by blowing up all the benzene gas or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, what happens next? It's like, I don't know. And it's like, well, aren't you a native here? And he's like, I've never been this far or whatever.
Yeah.
And then Isla says like, are we going to be okay, Dad? And then Eric's just like, can this get any more fucked up?
Yes, I had that one too. Yeah. I love what, he just has so many golden lines. Just to piggyback off that, he says, like, why does she keep calling you Dad? Like, I'm sure there's a lot of inbreeding in these parts. But this just seems unlikely.
I'm so glad you got that one because all I put down was inbreeding. I'm like, I can't remember the line.
I worked hard to get that sucker in. I was like, I got to have that. That is so good. So that one was good. And then right after that, they're like, well, we should get going. And he's like, what the? She can walk? That one was really good. Do you have any others, Mike?
I just have two more. And it's when Isla says, like, who is this? And he's like, oh, I'm Eric. And this is your father, Spike.
Yeah.
He's like, he's just being funny. He's like, he's being an asshole.
Yes.
I know what an asshole is. And then,
no, I just like that because he just sits there and takes it, right? He doesn't. He's just like, yeah, I guess.
And then I liked, it's kind of an easy line to put in so you can critique Alex Garland, but Ray Fiennes has cleaned the skull and he holds it. And he's like, alas, poor Eric.
Yes. Yeah. So yeah.
Thought that was quite good.
Another one I liked was, again, with the Swedish guy and Spike when they're having their little conversation. He's like, this is my girlfriend. And he shows the picture. And it's like, what's wrong with her face?
That's my laugh out loud.
And they talk. I've got a friend who's allergic to shellfish.
I have a friend that's got this. Yeah, she eats shellfish. Her lips all puffed.
It's like, what are you talking about? She's gorgeous. And that was pretty funny. And then, of course, the after the birth, it's like, it's a fucking zombie baby. Just gold, yeah. Those were my last two. And most of them were from the Swedish guy. Like, I was writing like crazy when he came in.
Yeah.
I could have wrote the last line that Jimmy said about his shot being poetic. I thought that was pretty good, too.
Yeah.
Like, that was just poetic right through him. And then, you mind if we
step in,
take over? Yeah. And he's like, yeah, okay.
I guess. So. They're running at him.
Might be a few too many for you. Yeah, the hold. Yeah. Reminds me of Braveheart. It's just hold. Yeah. All right, now we're going to move back into our categories here, and we're going to go to our what doesn't hold up. Mike, what didn't hold up for you?
The first one for me, and I watched a couple of like making ofs or interviews with Danny Boyle, and I don't know if he can justify it, but it's the scene at the very beginning when the kids are in the room watching the Teletubbies and young Jimmy goes to the door and everything is absolutely out of focus.
Oh, okay.
And I just didn't get why. Like I when the infected bang on the door comes into focus.
Right.
But it just, I was like, oh God, this is shot on crappy digital cameras again, was my first thought. So I don't know. Danny Boyle's talked about, we shouldn't worry so much about what the technology was. We should worry about the story that's being told with it. I'm like, but we should still worry about focus.
Yeah, we should still be able to see okay. And yeah.
So that was my first one. And then my other doesn't hold up was the over explanation of what the causeway is and the tide schedules.
Yes. I have that as well.
Yeah.
It's not.
They really had to hammer it home.
Yeah.
Right?
I was like going between this and gratuitous.
Yeah. Because Spike
it's
would
much.
know it. It's like, all right, tell me what you know about the causeway so that the audience knows about the causeway.
Yes. I had that in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam, what did you have?
I don't think they would have survived the fire at the Shell station after the explosion.
No,
No.
I agree.
Yeah, they would have had burns at least from the
They would have
heat.
had something and there's pressed
That
against the ground.
whole thing exploded.
Yeah, that has had that gas sitting there for God knows how long. And
Yeah.
I mean, it does show that there is clean air at the bottom, so only the fumes would burn, quote unquote, but no.
But no, like the whole thing would,
But it blew up.
It blew
like
up.
The
Up and out.
up and out, and it like the glass shattered. I remember when I watched that part, and he opened the top, and he had his gun. I was like, "Well, don't fucking shoot in there." And then, sure enough, boom, boom, and I was like, "Well, they're dead."
Yeah,
I was like,
they're
"This
gone.
movie's over. What else do we got to do?"
now the story of Eric.
That would have been amazing. Like a psycho level twist where it's like, your main character isn't your main character.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
we're looking at Eric.
Yeah, you're following him along. Yeah. Did you have another one, Sam?
So I didn't really like them taking an infected baby.
Yeah.
Like I just don't get it. Like I know they were trying to show like some like I know the whole birthing scene as well as like oh, mothers just know and they can help each other through.
Oh, that's another one of my later categories.
Oh, sorry.
That's so funny.
Even if they're insanely
Yeah.
driven, like like they're
motherhood
mad.
changes them.
Yeah.
The birth process makes them.
Women bond through childbirth is what I
But that
put.
was it. They're holding
They're
hands.
holding hands
Like that.
yeah.
I was like, no one is pushing like that. Like imagine the shaking elbows. Like, it doesn't seem sturdy at all. I've given birth twice. It doesn't
Well,
seem-
and that baby just pops out like a turd. Like it's
right
just
out.
boom, and I was like, okay, well, that was the quickest birth ever. Yeah.
Well, and this is where I thought we were going to see the eyes. So I thought it was the baby. Obviously,
Oh,
newborns
yeah,
don't
yeah.
open and have the clear eyes or whatever right away. But like that's where I thought the eyes were going to come in. So I didn't like a lot about that. And then I thought that could be how they would relate it to the second movie. But then,
But no.
Yeah.
So you said that doesn't hold up that they took the baby. What do you think they should have like just left it to die?
yeah.
Well,
Or giving it to the alpha. Throw it to the alpha.
So I think I struggle with them even. My note was, why are they running towards the screaming? Like that person was screaming and yelling and stuff. And that would have, if you're living in that kind of environment, I would think you would know that with that amount of noise, it's going to bring everybody in. Why wouldn't you get away from that? Why would you go to it?
Well, I only saw it like I figured Isla was like in one of her states, right? So she didn't quite know the danger. Maybe, I don't know. She wanted to see what this was. Spike didn't want to leave his mom alone, but then Eric's like, I guess I'll go too.
Right.
Yeah.
Ends poorly.
Poor guy.
So I guess that brings another question. I know I brought this up about the other movies.
Yeah.
Like the zombies before we were like, or the infected, sorry. Do they hear or not? And in this movie, they specifically say they would have heard that explosion.
Yes.
And so they've made it clear that they would have. But even with the gas station explosion, no one shows up. Like that would be a great place for the alpha to pop by if he's hunting. And then
I think it's just the population is sparser. Danny Boyle talks about how they've evolved. They've learned to hunt, to feed, and now they're organized. And that's why there's like the alpha, but I think it's just not as many infected have survived because there's not as many eating maybe. So I don't think it's as populous.
I don't know, but it seemed like not a very far distance. If a 12-year-old and a person can put a mother and carry the mother all the way on their back, and it only took a day.
Yeah.
Like a day and a
not
bit.
even, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, from the shell to the train was maybe a 30-minute saunter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't really think the alpha can run fast and far.
Yes.
Like you could hear him stomping, sprinting everywhere.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have questions about the sound aspect, and I kept saying in my notes like, "Shh! Like,
Yes.
why are you speaking so loudly? Like, why are we screaming? Why are we yelling?"
Yeah.
There is a line where his dad says his dad's is James, isn't it? Jamie, yeah. So there is a line where he says the noise will bring more.
Yeah.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
When after the
noise will
roof
bring-
collapses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, there we go. It does. But then it doesn't.
But
at all.
then sometimes it does, and sometimes
Just
it doesn't.
when it's convenient.
When it's convenient for the story, they show up and they chase.
Yeah.
And then you get that lull of, okay, now we're walking through acres of open field and they're not around.
Yeah.
Like they're somewhere else. So, I mean, it's a minor thing, I think, but it is definitely a question where you're like, well, why? Sometimes they're like hell bent on getting you, and other times it's like, we're just hanging out, bathing in the river.
And why sometimes do they wait and then scream and run, and other times they just run?
That's my biggest problem in all zombie films is where, like, that guy that's hanging up who's infected, like, he wouldn't just hang there. If he heard people talking and stuff, he would immediately, like, obviously it's built up for a jump scare.
Yeah.
But he would immediately been like, trying to get them, right?
Yeah.
The Walking Dead did it all the time. Like, where they'd come into what looked like an abandoned grocery store.
Yeah.
They'd move like cereal boxes over to the side, and all of a sudden, these things are there, and you're like, oh, for fuck's sakes.
Yeah.
They don't, they're not sitting there waiting and hiding so that they can jump out, surprise, I'm going to get you. Like, they don't think, people.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Samson does.
Yeah. I had a couple what doesn't hold up, but I think I may have covered them in my rant here. It was just like, why are they moving towards the screaming? My other one was, I don't think, now this is me kind of being a little bit nitpicky. I love the mother. I thought she acted this role very well.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the way she flips out on the dad when he says they're going to the mainland to when Spike takes her to the mainland, she's just like, oh, we're on the mainland. Where's dad? Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And she doesn't like really press that we cannot be here.
Yeah.
Like, we need to get back. Now, is that because she's in this cancerous state of like, oh, everything's gumdrops and lollipops? I just think she would have freaked out a little more.
I think that's a really good point. I think it's a good point because no matter what point of theirness she had, throughout, she always cared about Spike. Like, she would flip out when it came to Spike's and then anything to do with him, right? So
yeah, she always seemed to come back into cognition when it had to deal with him.
And so that kind of brought, so you'd think that would be like, no, this is really dangerous and you're a child. Like,
yeah. You can't be out here. She didn't want him to go the first time. They had to lie to her.
No.
And then they got back and she didn't know.
No.
Like, she wasn't at the party or whatever. She just thought he went to school. So now the next time they go off, he's on the mainland with her.
Yeah.
I just think she would have freaked out a little.
And too, like, to just further on that, like, motherliness that like brings her back down and grounds her a little bit. She was fine when she had the baby.
Yeah.
So she had the baby and it was like, she was like a mom again, and she was completely fine and coherent and throughout that time too. Right. She didn't have any episodes.
No, she didn't. Once they had the baby, she had no
That's
more.
what I thought it was. I was like, oh fuck. It's like this, like, oh, motherhood is wonderful. And it grounds everyone and brings it. Cause after like that birthing experience, then she's like, I have to take the baby. And then she's fine. The rest of the movie, she's completely there.
Yeah. She's lucid and she's involved, and she doesn't go off on those.
She's giving it water. Like
she's taking care of it.
Yeah. And she's walking straight. She's not meandering. Like she's,
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
You have to go too deep, like the way the brain functions and memory. And but I think that's I don't know if that's giving too much credit to Alex Garland, if that's what happened. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, those were mine.
With all the other exposition, the doctor could have thrown that in, right? Like, it's when she's like, it comes in waves, but now, or it used to be like waves and now the tide's coming in. It's like, well, it's because you've reverted back to your motherly.
It's grounded you. It's made you, or whatever. Yeah. Sam, did you have any others?
The logistics of the doctor making the bone towers.
I had that because I was like, how does he get them so high? But there is a ladder.
Oh, made out of bones?
No.
No, he's got like tree stumps or something like all stuck in. That's how Spike gets to the top.
But
no,
like
but there's legitimately on one of the one of the femur towers, there is a like legit just ladder.
Yeah.
Okay. I missed it, but
I missed it the first time too.
Yeah, good to know, because I was like, that's really high up, and there weren't any spikes in the little
in the other ones.
In the femur towers.
The femur towers.
Maybe he does it like a crane where he builds and then he like lifts and puts the one underneath and lifts him. No, that.
Yeah. Oh God.
No, there is a ladder.
It's like Jenga.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know what I was expecting when they showed his lair, but it wasn't that.
His lair?
I was, yeah.
The first time I watched it, when Spike's like, what's that? And he's like, all these years I've been waiting for someone to ask me that. I didn't realize they were bones at that time. I thought they were just bare trees. I'm
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah, I didn't catch that detail. I think I was writing notes about something else, and then I looked up. I'm like why are a bunch of dead trees so important? And then when they finally walked in, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Maybe the dead people.
And I'm confused about the blood. Like we talked about this afterwards.
Like
after
one
we
drop
saw the
or no drop.
Yeah, like when in the first one, that drop from the crow goes into Daddy's eye,
Yeah.
and he turns into a rageaholic. Like at that time.
Yeah.
In this one, there's blood everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
It's just getting scattered all about, and nobody seems to care. Like, there is one moment where he says, the blood, isn't there?
Well, he says, don't blink because
And
she's
then
got it on her
wipes.
forehead.
Right,
And he wipes
yeah,
her forehead off.
So then you think, okay, well, it does carry the virus, but especially at the end, when that one guy is piano wiring and sawing that head off,
yeah.
and he's just, ha, 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 like laughing.
Yeah,
and
the blood is
there's
spraying at the
blood
person who's in front holding them.
The blood is everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, so, and then a baby, there's blood when a baby's born. Like that just doesn't cut the mustard. I just don't see that. But I mean, overall, a very good movie. I just
enjoyed it.
A couple of things that I just
questions.
questioned. Yeah. Moving on, we're going to go to most gratuitous scene. There's quite a few, but Mike, what did you have for most gratuitous?
My first one's just kind of funny, but it's the size of Spike's boots. When he's dressed up and he's coming down the stairs and he's clearly wearing like size 12s or I don't know.
Yeah, they're huge.
They're clown feet. And then I was like, how is he running that fast in those boots?
Yeah, clearly.
It's like running in
that's like it doesn't hold up, Mike.
Fair enough. And then...
And he doesn't trip. Well, he trips on the causeway, but otherwise he doesn't trip once.
Not once.
Like, you'd be flopping all over.
But he's barefoot on the causeway.
Well, that's true.
Yeah, because they took their boots off conveniently across.
Clown feet. And then my next one was just the frenetic cutting of the first two. It worked really well. And we've talked about the scene a lot. When Isla gets pissed off in the bedroom at the dad, I just felt they did way too many cut.
Oh,
cuts.
yeah.
Like,
Just around. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. Sam?
I said the killing the kids in the beginning.
Oh, yeah.
In that room. It was
I
like,
had
they
that
usually
too.
like killing kids is normally a no-go
Yeah.
in a lot of the movies we're watching. But I was like, that was like, oof.
I had that for like my terrifying side of the terrifying or titillating.
Yeah.
Because it was shocking.
And it was right off the bat. And it was like, sit in this room and like, oh.
I had a note. I was like, wow, killing kids in the first scene?
Yep.
So pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
I was like,
You've set a tone.
Yeah.
I said, oof, this is that kind of movie.
Yeah.
...
We're on a journey. Yeah. Do you have any others?
I just said that there was, at the beginning more so, lots of barf blood. Like,
Yeah, I had that too.
Yeah.
Mike?
My last one was just the slow-lo when it's eating the worm
Yeah.
and just the noise of it. And
Oh, that's my eerie. That's my eerie to ear splitting.
it was
Yeah,
too
yeah.
wet. It was too gross. It was too
Yeah.
long. Yeah.
Man, when that arrow goes into his neck,
Yeah.
the amount of spray
Yeah.
was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the blood just in general in this film, there's just so much of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it looked good, I would say.
It did look
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah. All right. Moving on to terrifying or titillating. Sam, why don't you start us off with terrifying or titillating?
That maybe this movie should have been called 28 Inches Later.
I said it. There it is. We need like an air horn.
Yeah, I just said so many dicks, and they're huge.
Yeah, it doesn't look good for date night for Chad. I was like, what is happening?
Bring back that small one that was in there
it's
earlier.
like-
The skinny old man.
It's like, why are we focusing on Samson's penis for so long? Like
So much, and it just goes
swings.
more. It's like exponentially more of Samson's dick, and I was like, all right, because the first scene, I'll just overstuff my like back it up moment.
No, go ahead.
Because I was like, I don't know if I'm going to say this in my back it up moment, but like, it was like a little like over the head kind of focusing down on Samson in the dark. It was like
when they were
kind
the
of
night vision red.
Yeah, it was the night vision red, and I was like, oh, is that a dick? Like, it was huge. So I was like, and then I was like, well, we're not going to see it again. It's going to be left to our imagination, but it's not.
No.
The entire,
Draw it from memory.
the entire time. So I said that, and then I also said that Jamie giving head to Molly or Rosie in the alleyway.
Oh yeah,
Like when I was like, he comes home and then just immediately he's like feeling on cloud 9 and just goes to town. I was like,
His wife's got cancer. It's not a good look for him.
No.
But,
No.
I mean, it'd be tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mine, the terrifying, I was actually super freaked out when what are they called? Slow
lows, I think.
lows?
Yeah.
And you even said this in the theater when we went and saw it. I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, this thing moves like the ocean as it turns to look and like crawling around. When that happened, I was like, oh my God, what is the size of this thing? They made
it look gargantuan.
They made it look huge. I thought it was just going to be this crazy big thing. And then they just show him kind of. So at first, I was super terrified of that thing. I was like, oh my God, what is coming after them? And he's supposed to kill this?
Yeah. First kill.
But it's just this dumb, slow worm-eating thing.
Dumb worm-eating thing. I was like, oh, that's kind of unsatisfying.
Even rewatching the trailer for the post to Instagram today, like they show that clip.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. And it's like, yeah, but then you know what it is later. It's like, oh yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. But it was crazy because the angles they took of him too, like it's like they zoom in on the thigh, they zoom in on the rolls. Like you just see this huge thing.
This massive whatever it is, the humanity or not. And then it zooms out and you're like, oh, he's just like a fucking child. So that section was scary. And also when they first get chased by the alpha and they get chased into the building.
The house,
That scene was intense.
Yeah.
And then they did a really good job of him trying to get Spike up, and then they fell.
Yeah.
And then like he's pushing him up. It's like the dad's not going to get in. The dad's going to die. And then they got up there. But yeah, it was crazy. I was on the edge of my seat for that.
Yeah.
That
was very well done.
Yeah, it was good.
All right, Mike, do you have some?
No, I'm just going to add to the alpha cock conversation because in my first impressions, I mentioned like there was one headline that I saw.
Yes.
And it was, we need to talk about the distractingly well hung zombie. And I was like, what? So then watching, I'm like, is this it? Is this it? Oh, that's it.
If I get to question and then you see it, you're like, oh.
That's the one.
You're looking at every dick, every zombie. You're like, that one's a bit bigger. Like, enormous. I don't know about that. And then you're like, oh, fuck.
This thing's knocking benches as he goes through the train. I was like, this guy.
And then when he jumps off the train and the camera's like, we're going to get you to land right here. Just teabag the lens.
Good Lord. Moving on, we're going to go into Stood the Test of Time. I'll start this one off. We mentioned this before. The blood looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And there was lots of it. That was very well done. And the jump scares got me every time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So there were a bunch, but they got me.
The fox and the rats got me.
Yeah. When they ran out of the
train.
It's like, good. Yeah, that one. And then there was one in the
There's
building
one in the
as
really
well.
very beginning that someone in front of me, like their popcorn, and you're like, and the popcorn
It got
tumbles
me
out.
too, because we were watching. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Well, then when they go into the house where the infected's hanging, the fox like it runs out.
Oh,
yeah. That one scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so every one of those, even though they were like, I guess the jump scares are their own kind of trope, but they were used very, very well.
Yeah.
And they got me every time.
And again, no music leading up to it. Like, they always just get you.
They don't get that tense. There was actually, when those action moments were happening, very little music, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have a comment about that a little bit later in our ear-to-ear splitting about that.
So yeah, I thought those two stood the test of time for me. Sam, what did you have?
I really liked when they're coming back to the island, the bioluminescence in the water.
Oh yeah, that was so cool.
I thought it was so cool, and you could see the alpha gaining on them.
Yeah.
And I loved that.
Yeah, just a
The steady thumping of him running towards. Yeah.
And then I also liked, so at the end of that scene when they finally shoot the alpha, and he's lying there, and they make them wait 20 seconds at the gate.
Yeah.
And they're sitting there. It felt like the longest 20
I know.
seconds.
Good.
I was like,
let me in, let me in, wait.
And they're like sitting there, and I was like, let him in. But then, you're like, it's 20 seconds, but it feels so long. Where in the other movies, when they turn, it's so quick.
Yes.
And so you're like, okay, come on. And then they're finally let in. You're like, oh, thank God. So those are my first two.
Mike, what did you have?
My first test of time was the opening, because we know the world we're going to go into.
Right.
But we don't exactly know how soon we're going to go into it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when the kids are all in the room watching the Teletubbies, it's like, oh, is this going to be like the day of the outbreak? Because we don't even know what part of the world we're in yet.
Right.
And then one of the girls, when the door opens and you hear like a teenager voice, like, we need to hide. And the mother's like, there's no point. And then the door slams shut.
Yeah.
One of the girls sitting at the front starts to cry.
Yes.
And it was just like, oh, like it was just chills. It was like, fuck.
Yeah, that whole scene is very disturbing.
Yeah. And it's quick and it's got the creepy Teletubbies.
Yeah.
But it was so well done. It was such a, like, just an intense entrance into this. It was very well done. Yeah. And then the next one for me was the night vision, like just that red color.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yes, I
night
had
vision's
that too.
always creepy, but their eyes, like just, and tinting it red
Yes.
was so cool.
Agreed.
Agreed.
I've got another one, and Sam, you just kind of alluded to it, but it's just in the cinematography in the film. I thought, like,
Oh, absolutely.
said it was beautiful, but there's shots of the sky, there's shots of just their environment all throughout that really were quite breathtaking. So I really enjoyed the area that they filmed in and how it was filmed.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
Yeah, I'd written down like just the landscape was gorgeous.
yeah. Sam, did you have any other?
So I also had the nighttime scenes as well, but I really liked the scene of the alpha just standing at the top of the hill and staring at where they were. And I loved that scene. It goes with the scenery as well. Like they're on the hill there and it's just him standing there and he's huge and right next to the tree. And I thought that was really well done.
So how many alphas are there? Because they kill that one and then Samson's the next one.
Yeah.
So
They don't ever tell us.
No, well, the doctor said that Samson was there for 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Anyways, sorry, Mike, I cut you off. Did you have another one?
I have a few more.
Okay, go ahead.
Another test of time that I really liked was the freeze frame on the kills with the arrows.
Oh, yeah.
Where it would just pause for that one quick second. You get that splash of blood and then the action would continue. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And then I just thought this was kind of interesting. Like they did a really good job. And this is maybe why I wanted that second half to be a bit more, because they humanized the apocalypse. It was no longer survival at that point for parts of it. And so I was just like dying of cancer in an apocalypse where it's like you've survived all of that.
Yes.
And now we're back to dying of natural shitty causes.
Cancer can still get you.
Fuck, come on.
So I was just like, that was a neat little touch. I thought Alfie Williams, who played Spike, was phenomenal.
Yeah, he did a
Yeah,
fantastic job. Yeah. I thought the kid that played Jimmy also at the start.
Young Jimmy, yeah.
Yeah, did a very good job of like looking, he's watching all these people get ripped apart and yeah, I thought he did a good job too. Overall, I thought the whole thing was acted very well.
Yeah, same.
Moving on now, we go into, and I think we've discussed a few of these already, but our laugh out loud moments. Sam, why don't you give us a couple of your laugh out louds?
So I only had one, and mine was the doctor's setup when he's incinerating the bodies.
Oh, yeah.
It was like a dad at a barbecue. He had like two camp chairs that look like a little cooler there. He's sipping his
tea.
Had an umbrella too, I think.
I know. I was like, oh my God, it like flashed him just sitting back. It's like he's waiting for the burgers to flip.
Yeah.
It's just.
But it's funny because that process just becomes so like his job.
Yes.
Kind of thing, right? So he does all that. And then when I saw what really drove that home was, he was just sitting there watching it, and then the kettle or the big
almost the pressure cooker whistle.
goes off, and then he just goes and he just starts ripping off the flesh.
Spike's just there, okay.
Oh, right. Yeah.
This is fine.
Find a spot for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was wild. So that was your laugh out loud.
Yeah.
Mike, what did you have for laugh out loud moments?
A lot of mine have been talked about, but I had another one where they were just showing the life of the camp or the colony. And in the store or whatever, it says new gear, take what you need.
Yeah.
And a woman grabs knitting needles.
Yeah.
When you're like, because you're like, apocalypse, take the gear. And it's like, I'm going to do a little knitting.
Yeah. Lots of mine I've talked about in our one-liners. I laughed pretty much the whole time the Swedish guy was on.
Yeah.
I thought he was very funny. And I thought he was a nice added bit of levity, even though he doesn't really add anything to the story particularly. He's just kind of a guy that can get killed.
Mm-hmm.
He's just a funny character.
Yep.
Comes in there and he just, cracks off these things. And then he's the last one of his troop.
Oh, yeah.
And then he saves them. And then he's like the alpha grabs him. And when he grabbed him, I was like, no, all right.
Yeah.
Fine.
It's like, couldn't he have lived a little longer?
Yeah, he wasn't with us very long.
But it's kind of good because, we get really attached to this guy because he's fun, he's funny. And then done.
Then done. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I will say that I didn't in my stood the test of time was the scene where Samson grabs the doctor. I thought the doctor was doomed.
Underground?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was so good.
And then he's like pulling him and he's grabbed his head and I was like, oh no, it's
done.
over. And then Spike saves him. I just thought that was like really well done because it scared the crap out of me. I thought it was done and I liked that character.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get like his back broken as he got pulled through a tiny hole or something. Yeah.
Okay. Eerie to ear splitting is our next one. I'll do this one because I only have one. And Mike, you actually already talked about it. It was the worms. It's the zombie noises just in general. Yeah. But the worms, when he was like sitting there, was like slurping it up. It was just like, oh, and you're right. It went on a long time. Did. It's just like, do I need to see him suck the whole worm up through? Yeah, it was just...
Yeah, you do.
And I did. Yeah. So that was mine. Mike, what did you have for eerie to ear splitting?
I had two, but they're kind of similar because I really liked the soundtrack to this. Young Fathers was the group that did it, and they did a lot of the songs on the Trainspotting 2 soundtrack, and they have a very distinct sound. Oh yeah. And so watching this, I was like, oh, it like I went back to Trainspotting 2 in my head when I watched this just because of that. But they did so many weird layers with the music. So when Jimmy's running to the church at the very beginning to get to his dad, there's the intensity of the music, but then there's this choral music at the same time going on. And they did that a lot where there was almost people talking, but not quite. And so you didn't quite know what was going on. It was like a confusion, but also very kind of relaxing sound through the film.
Yeah.
And then at one point, and I can't remember where it is, but there's like this like an industrial thrumming sound as well that was just unsettling as well. I love the use of music in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did have one other one. It was when they went back and forth in the war. Like when they did the marching and the guy was the radio.
The boots.
Yeah. Boots on the ground and all that stuff. I thought that was just like, oh wow, they're really tying this in there. Like they're showing the old Knights army flashing to them training and how they train at a very young age to try to kill these things, head or chest, like head or heart. Sorry. But I thought it was a good way to start the film anyways.
I had that in my test of times, but then I think my writing was too messy, but now that you said it.
Oh yeah.
But it's, I love that because it's almost like England will continue to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. We're going to go into our what the fuck moment. Let's pop on over to Sam. What was your what the fuck?
The tracksuit guys with Jimmy. I was like, the fuck? And I feel like it changed the entire, like, I don't know, it was like another shift in the movie as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm sure it's leading.
Yeah, it's setting the stage for the next film.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, they're parkouring around to killing the infected. I said the tracksuits look crisp, though, for an apocalypse. And I just said it's just Jimmy and his bros just parkouring around. So, yeah, that was.
I wrote, what a twist. Because, like, Spike's dad's name is Jamie. Someone calls him Jimmy. So I assumed for the entire film, that was the Jimmy from the opening was the dad.
Mm.
But then when you see the upside down cross, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't understand when they're in the house and there's Jimmy written in the chest of the infected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how is no one talking about the fact that the dad's name is carved
into
an infected?
Seems suspicious. Hey, Dad.
And then it's scrawled on the side of that house. I'm like, what the fuck? And so then, Jimmy shows up with his group. And I'm like, oh.
That's what it is. Yeah. Mine was, the tracksuit guys. But the fact that they all looked like Jimmy Savile.
Yeah.
Like,
do they only the blonde survive or they all bleach their hair?
Yeah. And they all had like that bob cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all like using terms that Savile used. And I was just, it's like, why? Why is this guy?
I said my first comment when they came in was, ew, who the fuck is that?
Yeah.
Oh, he's so douchey looking.
It is literally, ew, who the fuck is that?
And he's got all those rings. And it's just crazy.
I'm not going to lie. I was expecting like a Norwegian accent. Just like this weird Euro trash.
Honestly, it would have fit.
Yeah. I also had, why not kill the alpha zombie when you have him stunned?
Yeah.
Or at least let Spike do it if
I know.
you don't want to do it. Like, that confused me.
The do no harm, respect life, maybe, but it made no sense to have this like the alpha predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
I said something in here. I was like, are they going to kill him this time? Or maybe kill him this time? Question mark.
Yeah.
Like
he's already taken 4 arrows
Yeah.
and he's just running through.
Yeah.
And then he stuns him and he's like, well, we better get going before he wakes up. He's like, he's going to wake up? Like, why are we keeping this guy alive? Like, you can't cure him. You don't want him. He's not your bud.
Yeah.
He's going to hunt you forever.
Yeah.
Like,
and he's an unstoppable force. Like, he's just crazy strong. So I just didn't get it.
No.
Mike, do you have any others?
I do. My first what the fuck was the speed of Spike and Jamie's running, because they
varies.
When they're running towards the house, the infected are almost on top of them. So they run, stop, shoot, kill a couple, and then they run, and they're able to create enough distance to stop, plant, and aim. And so it's like, Jesus, they're fast. Yeah. And then even on the causeway, like, it was a great scene. It was beautifully shot. It was really cool. But I felt like the Alpha was catching up and then farther away, and then catching up and then farther away.
Yeah, he was. It did seem like that. Yeah.
And then my other what the fuck was just like, that colony has the worst watch guards ever.
Oh, they're always sleeping.
They're always sleeping. Like, I know the tide's not quite out, so we don't really, like, something could still obviously make it across the water, because they did, and they're asleep. And then also...
and I love the urgency when he's burning the thing and he's like, you got to go help them. And he's like, you watch that tower. You watch it with everything you got today. Yeah. It's like, okay, guy. Like, you were napping.
Yeah, you're not watching. And then they don't see Spike bring a baby.
Yeah, the baby's loud.
Yeah.
It's crying.
The only time it cries is that moment, but
yeah,
that's almost another what the fuck, like, best baby ever.
Best newborn, and not having any milk, just water, for however many days.
For a day, 2
but
days.
Like, they're in that little hole, and the Alpha is like yoinking on Ray Fiennes, and the baby's just not one,
not a peep.
Yeah, very very well behaved child.
And another thing, on the running, how fit are Spike and Jamie? Because I'm sorry, run in shin high water at a full sprint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't do it well. Like,
they ran a lot further.
Well, they went for
But wasn't shin high? Because when the Alpha, like, he did say that, but when the Alpha was coming and they showed him running, his feet were hitting the causeway, and it was just splashing up the water.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't think it was as high as they said it was as they were running.
Okay. Or it receded very quickly.
Yeah. Because he was just like, and it would have slowed him down too. I don't care how strong you are.
Yeah.
Running through water is tough.
It is.
Quads.
Yeah. Oh, one more thing I had. So many what the fucks all of a sudden. Why wouldn't you sleep? Spike and his mom, why wouldn't you sleep on an elevated surface?
Yes.
Because the crawling thing comes up there and starts eating the shoelace. I was like, why are you on the ground?
Yes.
Like, even if it wasn't a crawling thing, those things live on the ground. Like, at least give yourself some space here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
And he falls asleep instantly.
Right away.
For sure.
He says, I'm going to stay up and keep watch.
Yeah.
And then, did the mom know that she killed it? He's like, what happened here? She says, I don't know.
She did remember.
I think as she was like looking back at it.
Yeah, she watched it and then it came back to her and then she was like, oh, I did that. But she didn't want to admit it to the boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty badass kill.
It was. I was like, oh, mom is badass. I was like, is she the hero?
It was amazing. She just went off on that thing. Yeah. Pretty crazy. Speaking of that, then we're going to lead into our back it up moments. If you had the choice, or you could, since we were in the theater, we couldn't do it. What would be your back it up moment, Mike?
For me, it was one of the more serene moments, and it's when they're at the Angel of Northumberland or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And the mom is sitting in the canola and she's just reminiscing about the dad and telling that, like, it'll be here for thousands of years. So, like, I was worried that I fell into the future. I just thought it was a beautiful monologue and a great moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam?
Mine was the giant wiener glimpse at the beginning. But just to, like, clarify, I don't need it anymore. But at that moment when I was writing my notes and I was like, was that what it was?
You didn't want to back up on the train when it was in clear view?
No, I saw a lot of it. I got it. I got it locked in. It's but yeah, that was the only one. It's hard with this one, like, seeing it in theaters. Like, I would like to go and rewatch the entire thing, to be honest.
Yeah, and, I agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
My back it up was the tracksuit attack.
It was pretty sweet.
I loved it so much. I just like these guys just show up and then they just kick ass. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it does make me think that the second one's going to be more of an action film.
Yes.
And not as, about the relationships, just like the first two were. It seems like this is going to take that route.
Yeah. I would agree.
But we'll see what happens. Moving on to hiding in the shadows. Sam, you had a couple. What was hiding in the shadows for you?
A couple of them we've already talked about. I don't understand why they're talking so loud. The sound, the blowing up the gas station. I also don't entirely understand how the infected are still alive after 28 years.
Me too. I had that question as well.
Yeah. And with an abundance of animals around that they could eat, I guess. But
yeah, why are those animals still plentiful?
Yeah, because Danny Boyle does say like they need to hunt so they become organized, but that's not explained. That's only if you watch the interview with Danny Boyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like my biggest question. After 28 years, you're like,
yeah,
that's a long time.
Yeah.
Well, and to not be, again, like I think I raised this in the first and the second one. It's like these zombies are infecting people. Are they eating the people? Are they their food? Or are they just trying to infect them? Because once they're infected, then they become them and they just run around and then try to eat whatever.
And I think that's what it is. Because like with the priest, they infect the priest and then he gets up and
then he's part
conga
of them.
lines them back out of the church.
Like, and then they run out of the church. Conga lines them out. You do the limbo rock.
If you haven't seen the scene.
Yeah.
That's what he does.
It does actually. You mentioned that it does actually look like that because he like lifts his arms up and then they all follow him out and they're jiggling away. But that is the question, right? Is what are they feeding on? How are they still alive for that long?
Yes.
And how do they keep up that energy? Like, I mean, I know the rage virus is supposed to give you. Obviously, it's supposed to give you like superhuman abilities. It seems.
Yeah.
Because they never get tired.
Yeah. Their metabolism clearly changes.
And they don't ever break bones. Like those guys fall off of bridges and stuff and they just pop up and like get going. Like it just, I don't know. They just seem invincible.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I don't think should be.
Right.
Like, I think it would be cool if they fell and you saw like his shin bone break out of his leg.
Yes.
And then he starts like
limp running.
Like that doesn't hurt because I'm so crazy with the rage that I'm still going to attack
that would
you.
Be cool.
Right.
But it just seems like they just don't even get hurt until they're dead. Anyways, yeah, I agree with you, Sam. I don't know why they're still alive or what they eat or how they exist. So,
or how they breed.
Yeah. Well, apparently they're popping babies out like
just one baby.
Just that one guy. Yeah. Mike, did you have some?
I did. I had a couple sort of questions and things like that. But the first detail I'm going to bring up, because I didn't know if I wanted to put it in eerie to ear splitting, but I enjoyed sort of two musical references back to the first film. And it's the kids in the schoolroom singing Abide With Me.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you listen closely, they kind of changed it a bit. But when Spike goes out on his own, the song that's playing is the exact same song as the opening of 28 Days Later.
Oh, I didn't catch
catch
that.
that.
Yeah, nice.
So I love those two
nice
musical
catch.
cues.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's awesome. Anybody else?
The one thing I didn't understand, it was right at the end of the film. So he drops the baby off with the note and the dad's all upset.
Yeah.
And then it goes 28 days later. That flashed up on the screen.
Yeah.
What does that mean? So does that mean that the baby was actually infected and then infected them? Or like...
I think it just means
28 days from when they dropped.
I think it's 28 days from when Spike dropped the baby off.
Yeah.
I'm skeptical that he survived that long.
Well, and still has arrows.
Yeah, like that's what I didn't understand. I didn't quite get that timeline. So it's just 28 days after he's just chilling.
I think so. It just shows like he's traveled for
catching fish and cooking them. I felt so bad that thing ate his fish. Yeah. I mean, he speared that sucker
and slow roasted it.
That was a huge fish.
But also, he's not in a discreet area. Like he's on a pathway in a tunnel that they can clearly run down.
Which shows that you're kind of naive. Like you would be trying to hide, I would think, in a spot. Maybe he thought if he hid, like then they could sneak up on him or something. I don't know. But he's in a very exposed area.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't buy it. Like,
No, a 12-year-old would not last.
No, 28 days. That's why I was like kind of confused on the timeline. And then on top of that too, like he wasn't really like he got saved by a lot of people. Like it's not like
always.
He was like,
that's one of the things I missed in my tropes is there was always a last minute save.
Yeah.
The Deus Ex Machina was strong in this one.
Yeah. Okay, that clarifies it. I was just weirded out by the 28 days later, but makes sense.
Go nuts. Okay. Take us out here, Mike.
All right. So just another one. I just put this because I didn't know where to put it, but like I did not expect to cry at this movie. And so the cancer scene and the mom.
Oh, I lost it when mommy died. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was hard.
I did not, but.
Well, I didn't lose it. I wasn't an ugly, crying, blubbery mess, but it did tug on the
I teared up.
feel box there.
I felt bad too because like they drugged him and stuff like that. Like he was clearly so upset.
Yeah, I thought that was beautiful though. Like they sedated him so that he wouldn't panic.
Yeah,
yeah.
And then they left him with the baby.
Yeah.
Well, he went, killed her and burned her and took her skull.
Yeah, I thought the doctor would have walked a little farther away before shooting the mom the first time.
I mean, she was pretty much in eye shot. Yeah.
It was like 10 steps away.
I know, they just like, let's go do this.
You ready?
Yeah. All right. Just going to walk on. And the little, like, when he hit her with the dart, like the little puff on her dress is like,
yeah.
It was like...
But I thought it was good. And I like the embers going up. Yeah, I thought it was really well done.
The embers going up were really cool. Yeah. There's just so much beauty in this film that I really enjoyed a lot of the shots that they did.
Yeah. And then my last one, just a question. Was it Samson's baby? Is that why he was like,
I was wondering that myself.
I'm assuming especially just because he's the alpha, like they keep like, but
I thought that sentence was going somewhere else. Just because.
just because. ... We're all assuming
the guy's got a massive stream.
Well, that's not where I was
shooting ropes. It's populating his section with all the
Yes.
But I actually thought that too, Sam. But then I thought, no, I think he's just a crazy guy because he does like run after them just like the other alpha did.
Yeah.
I don't think if they like hucked the baby at him and like,
I just think they should ditch the baby. Like, I'm sorry, like a baby in a apocalypse of any kind is a like is a liability.
It's the last episode of MASH, right? You're gonna have to quiet that chicken down.
Well, and that's the thing, like your comment about it was the most well-behaved baby. That is accurate. Like babies cry when they're uncomfortable. They cry at the drop of a hat. They would expose you in any instance. And if you're trying to be secretive, let's get under it. It's like, oh, fuck.
Yeah, you can't.
Like you can't. It's just not a good idea.
No.
Even when in The Walking Dead, when they had a baby girl, and I was like, "What in the apocalypse? No, get out of here!"
It was a terrible choice. And that's the thing; they were clearly having kids on the island, like right, because like obviously that's where we have Spike, right? Like and all that. So they're clearly doing that, but that's like a safer place.
Yeah,
and it's been 28 years. But like, let's pick a baby up when we're trying to get back to the safe place.
Yeah,
seems questionable.
Well, and the guy wanted to kill it, right?
Yes.
So, like, which makes sense. He's like, put the baby down. I'm going to shoot it. And he was like, yeah, you should.
The fucking zombie.
It's a fucking zombie baby. And then all of a sudden it gets out and starts running.
Can you imagine?
The dead alive baby.
Oh my God. I wouldn't have minded it.
The movie takes a total other shift.
Yep.
Spike's beating it against the swing set.
Wrestling it in a carriage. Okay, moving on to Fright Done Right. I wasn't sure what to put in this category. I thought this one did well. I did enjoy the first one, I think, better. Mm-hmm. So I think in this franchise, the first one is still the best for me.
Yeah.
This one, though, I liked more than the second one.
So
I would put this one number 2, and then number 2, I'd put number 3.
Yeah.
In order of likeness. But yeah, I thought the first one did it really, really well.
Yeah.
Mike?
For me, I agree with your ranking of this. The only other thing that sort of kept coming into my mind was a comic series by Garth Ennis, and it's called Crossed. And it's about an infection where people are angry and rageful. And it is some of the most haunting violence I've ever seen in comic book form. Like you would not you wouldn't show this to kids 16 or under. Like it's horrible, but mostly because there is a smarter crossed in the comic called Horsecock. And not because he has one, but because he has ripped it off of a horse, and that's the weapon that he bludgeons his victims with.
Oh my God.
That's insane.
But seeing Samson and his, I was just like, so he's the alpha, he's well hung, big dick, horse dick, crossed. So I don't know.
I did not think that was where that was going.
Wow. Those were dots that I did not connect.
Oh, it was instantaneously in my head in the movie. I was just like, oh my God, they've stolen from Garth Ennis, but not quite. Who did it better? I think for sheer violence, Crossed does it better, but for storyline, I think this was better. Yeah.
So,
I don't really know.
how do you follow Horsecock?
I was like trying to think of like big dicks I've seen in film now because I'm stuck on that, and it's like Hodor, or like, yeah. But
This podcast is focused entirely way too much on large genitalia.
I would say this movie had a focus on large genitalia overall. Like you can't.
It was distracting.
You couldn't.
But it was so funny because none of us mentioned it at all,
until the category came up.
What happens? It like creeped up on you a little bit. You're like, is that? And then it's like, bam, and it's like, oh,
and then it's everywhere.
Yes, everywhere, everything, all at once, all everywhere. It's just center stage. It's the star. I would say.
Sam, what was your fright done right? Try to rein this in here.
Okay. I said, let me go back here. Okay. I just said some of the traveling scenes reminded me of The Last of Us. Is just like some of those scenic, but I feel like that's like you mentioned that a little bit as well. The journey scenes are coming a little bit of a trope in the movies as a whole. So yeah.
Lord of the Rings.
It's very a quest for something.
Yeah. All right. So we're moving on to our bonus features. Sam, why don't you kick us off?
I think we already mentioned this, but maybe not. The film primarily was shot on an iPhone 15 Pro Max. It's the biggest feature-length movie to be shot on a smartphone.
Nice.
And then during the scene from when Jamie takes Spike to the mainland for the first time, there's black and white footage from 28 weeks later shown among the archival footage.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. Mike, you told us about how Abide With Me was played in the first one. So I just have the scene. It was when Jim discovers his dead parents.
Right.
So that's if you're looking for that. And then the genitals in the film were simulated through photorealistic prosthetics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, it makes sense though. So they can't actually show like actual nudity. So they have to use prosthetics when they're working with children.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Which may obviously, but also
because Alfie Williams was 13 when they filmed it. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But also Alfie saw some shit. Like,
But it's so funny. Like he can see viscera and death and things being ripped apart, but no penises.
Yeah. And I'll stand by it. Like I'll always mention when there's a dick in any of these movies, and like it's rare. Yeah. It's rare.
Oh, the instant I knew there was going to be one, I was like, oh, Sam will be in on this.
Well, it's a rarity. Like boobs, all the time. Yeah.
Well, and I think even more so in the 80s and 90s, especially in horror films, there was always like the scene where it's just like, well, we got to get some nudity in here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like they just threw it in.
Yeah.
Now you can see it, in this franchise, like you see Cillian Murphy at the start and 28 Days Later.
Yeah.
I don't know about in the second one. I don't think there's any.
Nothing.
No.
But in this one, there's, quite a bit. So,
and Danny Boyle talked about that. Like by now their clothes have deteriorated. Like,
it makes sense that they would be naked and feral and like running through and dirty and gross. That totally makes sense. Like you wouldn't have, a perfect jeans and shirt on while if it's
the infected wouldn't have
time.
pristine tracksuits.
Yeah, though they should.
Can you imagine?
That would be amazing.
This is the first film in the 28 Later series to be given a 15 certificate for cinema release in the United Kingdom. The film's predecessors, 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later, were given 18 certificates.
Wow. I mean, I know the UK has a different view on nudity, but you'd think that this one would be the 18 versus,
Yes.
especially versus weeks. Like days I get, but weeks, just an action film.
Yeah. Seems weird. Mike, what did you have?
Just a little bit about the trailer, because that Boots trailer is amazing. Danny Boyle came to regret having the alpha be nude, since several of the shots he was most proud of couldn't be used in the marketing.
Right.
He really liked the train sequence, but at no time were any of those shots usable. The interesting thing is that trailer has already won an award, but Danny Boyle didn't realize the impact that Boots poem would have, because he was actually going to have a Laurence Olivier speech for that scene where they're walking on the causeway.
Oh, yeah.
But because the trailer had such an impact, he's like, we're going to take that out. We're going to put Boots into the actual film.
Okay.
So, yeah, that was interesting. Budget wise, I checked Box Office Mojo. The budget was 60 million, and opening weekend worldwide, it's made 60 million. So,
Okay.
I think it'll do a lot better. Like,
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, that is Thursday to Sunday figures only.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It made 15 million on opening day.
Wow.
Still, I thought it'd be more. 15 million
It's
on opening day
It's high for a horror
for
film.
a horror film.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm also surprised too, like my theater, I know I went on an afternoon on a Tuesday or like to the early one, but it was pretty dead for the first week as well. But it was the budget day at the theater. So it's the cheap ticket day. So I don't know. And like, I was kind of thinking about this too. I was like, I don't really see movies in the theater much anymore. Like
I don't either.
it's expensive. And I kind of said my actual first notes that I wrote at all were, I love movie trailers for 18A movies. Like just love them, because I've been going, the only movies I see are like the Disney movies with my kids.
Right. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So it's like, and then my second note is, have movies gotten louder? It was so loud.
Yeah, it was very loud.
I was like, oh my God, I've never felt so boomery in my life. I was like,
Well, it's in Dubley.
Yeah, we saw the AVX.
7.
ooh, I couldn't. Yeah.
Yeah, it was very loud.
I got used to it, but the like the trailers, I was like, oh my God, like it was too loud. But anyways, that's just me, old.
Sam, did you have any others?
I just said that the first trailer received 60 million online views within 24 hours.
Oh, wow.
Which is insane. And then my last one here was originally the follow-up was set to be titled 28 Months Later, which is what we thought. Okay, continuing the movie's timeline. However, after so much time had passed since visiting this world in 2007, with 28 weeks later, it was deemed more appropriate to name the film 28 Years Later.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were caught up in rights battles over the property. So
yeah, it just took a while. Yeah.
Mike?
Back to the being filmed on the iPhone 15 Pro, they actually had the bullet time rig to use the Matrix thing, but they had a rig set up with 20 iPhones. Sort of to do a semicircle around actors for action sequences. And so they filmed that, and then that way they could transition around to like immerse people in the violence and that. And Danny Boyle talked about like, he didn't want it to be complacent, right? It's so long after the apocalypse. He wanted the violence to be in your face. And so that's why
I'd say it was.
Yeah. And this is the first movie in a new trilogy. So,
well, I think they're going to wait till, because they shot these two back to back, and I think they're going to wait to see how the second one does before they finish the third one. Yeah,
Alex Garland has said that the story is written, but the script is not for the third one.
Okay.
Yeah, because Bone Temple was filmed concurrently, right? Yeah.
Right.
This is Alfie Williams, who played Spike. It's his feature film debut, which makes it even more
good for
impressive.
him.
He did really, really well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then the scene on the causeway at night when they're running from the Alpha, the Holy Island is an actual place, and that causeway does exist where people can drive when the tide is out.
Yeah.
But they realized they couldn't film there because the logistics and the safety of it. And like, what if they break a leg? So they had to build it. And so they found an ex-COVID vaccination center just outside of Newcastle. It was 450 feet long, and they flooded it with water. And then they used plates from an astronomy center to like create the sky. And so he had to light to match what they got from these astronomers. And so, he said it was like really cool to do.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Like the logistics to get that little scene is insane. Yeah. And international titles, not a lot because 28 years later translates easily, but South American countries, it was Extermination, The Evolution. It was a lot of it.
All right. Yeah.
And then Taiwan was 28 Years, Countdown to Destruction. Oh, sounds like a good metal album.
Well, there is Countdown to Extinction by Megadeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. But interesting. All right. Well, thank you for that. That wraps up our bonus features and that wraps up all our categories except for our watchability scale. I always like to go last on this one. So, Sam, what do you rate this out of 10?
Ooh, it's really tough for me. I, as per usual, get stuck with my numbers here. I do think it was better than 28 weeks later. I think it was worse than 28 days later. I gave that 28 weeks a 6, so I'm going to go with a 7. I think it's worth checking out. It was good. It was suspenseful. I have questions. I do think it went a little bit weird for part of it, but overall, I think it's worth watching and it was enjoyable, and I would rewatch this film. So
yeah, I agree.
Okay, I guess that leaves me. I gave 28 days a 9, and then 28 weeks was a 5. I know we picked it apart, and there's a few things where it's like, what about this and what about that question? But I watched this movie twice in under 24 hours. And the second watch, I was just as engaged. I jumped just as much. I was just as emotionally involved. So it's not as good as the first one. So I'm going to give this one an 8. I think it's still up there. I still think it's worth watching. I think that still holds where I think they are on the scale. Like 1 and 3, great. Number 2 is the lesser, because I saw it more as an action film than a horror film.
Yeah. I really enjoyed the film, and I definitely think it's worth checking out. I loved the tension, the cinematography, everything about it, but there were a lot of questions. It is better than the second film. Still not as good as the first. I gave the first one 28 days later an 8, so I'm going to give this one a 7. All right. With that, thank you very much for listening to us. Remember to follow us on Instagram. We are at ScreamStreamPod. Stop by our website, screamsandstreams.com, where we have information about our episodes, descriptions of our categories, links to our research, our watchability scale, and a page where you can recommend movies you want us to discuss. Please rate, comment on, and subscribe to our show on any of the platforms where you get your podcasts. Until next time, this has been Chad and
Mike
and
Sam.
Scare you later.